We have a new national champion.
That's it. The Baylor Bears, congratulations. This is not a basketball podcast. This is actually a triathlon podcast. Welcome aboard. It's April the 8th. It's a Thursday of the year 2021.
Yeah, right.
Welcome aboard. Crushing Iron Podcast, episode 467. And I only knew that because I was grossly off at last one was 466.
Yeah, I thought you might have seen my notepad.
No, I didn't cheat. She called me a
It's not
cheater.
cheating.
I didn't look over the pillar there to find it out. I remember getting scolded from you that I was way off. I said 469. You're like, dude, it's 466. We have this conversation every day.
I don't think
And
I
you
scolded.
gave me that look before you got all emotional on Monday. But this is it. This is a Thursday, and it's race week, baby. We talked about it on Monday.
You're going to Texas. We're the home of the national champions.
That's it. Yeah, I'm not cruising by to wave or anything. Be part of the
Going
parade,
by
but yeah,
Waco?
Congratulations. No, been there. Not going back probably. I'm sure it's fantastic. But
I hear it's really picking up with the art scene and everything like that.
yeah, I think they say the same thing about Chattanooga. You can see all you need to see in a day. And that seems like kind of like what Waco is. I've been there, but I'm sure it's a beautiful place. To each their own. I'm sure people say the same thing about our beautiful city here in Chattanooga. It is a gorgeous day. Again, we appreciate you tuning in. We know you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. But if it's your first time tuning in, thank you. We cover all things triathlon. We cover a whole lot of life. Sometimes we'll go in depth and cover swim, bike, and run training philosophy and outlines. We'll do race recaps. Today we will do a race preview. We'll have on an occasional guest. Sometimes we'll even do coffee reviews. But for the most part, Mike and I, as both best friends, coaches, athletes ourselves, we're just trying to figure it out. We are not experts. We are not professionals. We don't claim to be. We're just like you. We're kind of in that 80%. We're not the elites. We're not really in the back of the pack. We're just still trying to figure it out. Been doing this for collectively between the two of us.
Speak for yourself,
20
dude.
plus. You got it all figured out.
Yeah.
You do look kind of dapper today. You got you got Hokas on. So if I stopped at your ankles, I would say you look kind of hip today. And then I get down to the old man shoes and you lose it.
They're trail shoes.
You
at
got
least.
a nice hat going on. You got a little grungy kind of like thrift store shirt going. You got some nice whitewashed holy jeans and you look pretty slick. And then I make my way down to your ankles. And you got Hokas on, which
They are so comfy.
they're like the bright white New Balances that you see people walk in the mall with, if the malls even exist anymore.
I wish these were bright white.
That'd be awesome.
That would probably put me in the hip zone.
That would put you, because I think those are back.
With the stacks.
Yeah,
Remember
the high stacks.
Did you have those when you were
No,
a kid?
I didn't have stacks.
When I was a kid, they had stacks.
I know that we're like both grown and old now, but like I'm still 40 and you're still in your 50s, so no, I didn't have stacks. But they look like the Back to the Future shoes. They had like Back to the Future 2 when they went ahead in the future, and they had these really huge, like puffy.
I never watched that one. I watched the first one.
You never watched the second one?
I mean, why do you ever watch the second one?
There's never been a number 2 that's been as good or better than the first one?
No. Yeah, there probably has, but
There for sure has.
maybe I'm thinking don't watch the third one.
Don't ever watch the third one.
Yeah, the second one can be all right. Yeah, I think
and
it might
can be
actually
better.
It can be better,
I
yeah.
can't believe you didn't. Yeah,
I probably did
3 was
see it,
not.
actually.
The first was obviously a classic. The second one, I thought was just as good, if not better, than the first one.
Really? Was it Marty and...
Yeah, was it Marty? There was they're gonna have Back to the Future 2 without Marty McFly. Of course, he had Marty McFly. My God. What am I going to do with you? Today, I know what we're going to do with this podcast, unless you have somewhere else to go. I was going to do an Ironman 70.3 Texas race preview, because you know what? It's been effing forever since we've done one of these, and...
I know. We need to do it.
I'm
I'm just still a little caught up in that Baylor defense.
Oh my God, I can't. I wasn't even awake for it.
You didn't even watch it?
No, I didn't watch it. It didn't start.
We didn't even talk about it yesterday. It was kind of funny.
It didn't start till 9 o'clock at night.
I know.
Like, I don't know what kind of people they think watch these things, but like some of us have to sleep. Some of us have things we have to get to the next day. And like, it was a rout from what I saw when I woke up the next day and clicked. It was like a 16, 17-point win by Baylor. But pretty much they just manhandled them. Gonzaga
They're up
basically
19 in the first half. They were just throwing down on defense.
So they just smoked. And Gonzaga, they got.
I've never seen it. Gonzaga was scared. They were undefeated, and you could tell they were intimidated.
Baylor seems to be a little bit of a bigger basketball team than Gonzaga. Bigger, a little more manly.
I don't think bigger. They were just more physical, certainly, and just so good on defense, dude.
Defense wins championships.
I know, but this is the analogy to triathlon. They came out hot.
Baylor did, or
yeah,
Gonzaga?
Baylor, like
on
going,
fire?
like it was one of those things we talk about where they just had all that energy just blaring out of the gate in the swim and getting on the bike and just ripping it. And I'm like, they're going to fall apart. Because Gonzaga was down 19, cut it to 10 at half. And I'm like, oh, okay. They kind of had a little roll going. And Baylor just held on. I mean, they finished the marathon strong.
That's the way you got to do it. Finish the marathon strong. We're hopefully going to finish this podcast strong. But first, a small coffee review from Mike Terali.
No, let's get into it. Well, I'll do the coffee review later. No, because I think people are like, okay, what is this?
They're like, do we tell Mike to be quiet right now? We don't want
Let's
to talk about
Let's do a little preview,
anymore.
and I'll drop a little coffee review in towards the T2.
I like that. I like the T2. I do have to say this. I've had, obviously, we talked about this earlier this week, that I'm heading down to do Texas 78.3 with a lot of other athletes that we coach, and then obviously a lot of other athletes. And this is, I have zero
memory.
No, I'm getting there. Thanks. I have zero concern about this race being canceled.
Really?
Zero, which is a total flip from the way that I felt the previous time. Even though I got on the road and like got going, I was still kind of like, I'll still be kind of surprised. Zero doubt.
No.
I have zero doubt, which is also, I think, an interesting like mind flip for me, because I was kind of like, I wasn't fully zoned in, because I was like, half your brain's like, yeah, but it could not go, so don't fully go in. I'm in. I'm ready. I think I feel refreshed in, I think, a way. And when I say refreshed, I don't mean just like for this race. I just mean, I was kind of thinking, kind of reminiscing. I think your emotional zenness on Monday kind of got to me, but I was thinking about like just how many weeks and months it's been since, and I know they had Arizona 70.3 last year in October. I know they had Ironman, but for the most part, all the other races were just canned, at late notice or months apart. Even Ironman Texas this year was postponed about a month, maybe 5 or 6 weeks, I think, beforehand, which kind of get everybody a salty, taste in their mouth, rightfully so, about, oh, here we go again, and then it's like all of a sudden it's like, we're ready to roll. And just to kind of think back and scroll through like how many, as a triathlon related, not a Just Triathlon podcast, thank God, or we would have died a slow death in the last year. The last 3 years. Just how far and how long it's been, and how we've been able to maneuver things and talk about different things, and just kind of, I was scrolling through Training Peaks comments and just generally getting a sense of even athletes that I don't coach that and friends that I have that race. They're like, I'm getting excited for you. Like, there's a real feeling, I think, of optimism and positivity and energy about that we are back. Not like we are almost, but I think racing is back, and I think it's back to stay. And I don't say that with any hesitation. I think you're going to see Florida 70.3 happen the week after. I think races are going to continue to fold, and kind of like I said in a weekly email to our athletes a few weeks ago, I think races getting canceled are going to be more of the abnormal thing you're going to see. It's not going to be part of the norm anymore.
It helps that these two are both in states that are rolling a little bit. Texas Rangers,
I saw they had like
sold out
38,000 or something like capacity.
A lot of people weren't happy, but I think it was kind of awesome, man. I mean, like whatever. I just
can't wait to see people.
I know. This is the thing.
I'm excited to race. I'm excited to race with other people. I'm excited to get out there and do it. And I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited to, me. I don't talk much in general when I'm not on this podcast. But I don't talk much.
That's why it's nice to
I know
get you every once in a while.
I get 90% of my words out for the week during our 2 hours of podcast. But when I'm on a race course, I don't talk a lot. I'll say things to volunteers, say things on the bike course, but I'm generally just kind of like not, and just, don't really care who I see, who I don't see in a race course. But I'm incredibly excited to just watch and be a part of other people participating in racing and seeing everybody doing what we love to do, which is race. It's been a long time. I'm excited about it. I feel refreshed. I think my vacation came at a good time, and I'm ready to rumble. I'm ready to go. I feel good. I feel fresh. I feel healthy. No excuses. Try and pace myself.
You're going to have your name and logo on the kit, and I encourage everybody to stop them and say hi on the run.
I don't have a name or a logo. No, I'm actually going to wear a brown paper bag over my face. No, it's like, people know if they've been, listen, I know we haven't raced in a while, but if you listen to this for the podcast for at least 2 years, you know that Mike is Selfie Mike. Like, he is the one that you take selfies with at race course. But I will say this, if you are at Texas 70.3 and you do see me and you do feel the need to ask for a picture, which I'm not a big picture guy, take one. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not, a huge fan, but you know what? let's get back to things. Let's get back to the way things are. The way things are.
Yeah, come on, man. I've been struggling, and I think that's a big part of it. What you're just talking about, just the fact that we haven't had races, and I honestly, because that was sort of how I began my career, as sort of spectating, and I almost like that as much, if not more, than racing.
It's also more exhausting.
It's more exhausting, as we know, but there's something about it that really recharges me, and I do miss it, man. Even if I'm not there and I'm just tracking it, or kind of seeing the feedback and posts and things like that. It's just I guess it's just the optimism side of things for me. It's that I've missed, and I've had a hard time with consistent training. So kudos to everyone that everyone that I'm coaching personally who has been kicking ass, and I am taking on more athletes and really loving that process too. So send me an email at crushingiron@gmail.com if you want to ask me anything about coaching, or if you're looking for some help for a race that's coming up this year or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked to track you. I will track you, I promise.
Track you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You might forget. I mean, like I sent out an email to our athletes this week about, I always send like a 70.3 race prep email with like this huge long thing. And I was like, I almost forgot, because it's been so freaking long since, like, usually it's like I do this every single week during the race season. Like, there's always some big race happening, whether it's a full or a half, or like you're sitting, or, other races, local races, you're sending out a huge list and these numbers and these, race strategy things every single week. And just like that, it's just kind of like habit. And then I was like, I had to put it on my to-do list for this week. I was like, don't forget, we're back to racing. Make sure you get your race email out. But it is, I'm ready to roll. I think it's going to be exciting if you're going to be down there. I hope you have an awesome time and an awesome race. Well, I think, and we'll do this quickly today, is I think one of the awesome things about, people give flat courses generally they kind of scoff. I'm like, they're just so easy. Why pick something that's a PR course? Well, one of the fascinating things I find about courses that are flat, depending on where they're located, especially in a place like Galveston, is that you never know what you're going to get. And what I mean by that is, if you're racing Texas 70.3, or you're ever anticipating doing it or doing a race like it, I would say Eagleman is a little bit like it, because it's got an open water kind of swim in brackish waters, salt, and then a flat bike course. I don't think the run course there has as many loops, but it presents, and Eagleman is also windy. And that's the thing about racing in Galveston, is that you absolutely, it's one of those things I always joked this about. And Gulf Coast is another one that's like that. It's an open water swim, a flat bike course that's usually impacted by wind, and then a hot and humid flat run. And I think people always underestimate flat courses like that, but especially when they're early season. And Gulf Coast is an early season race. Texas is obviously an early season race. It's going to be hot, okay? It's going to be a lot hotter than people are, because even people who live in Texas or live in a warm climate, it hasn't been warm for that long. Just now got pretty warm here. But what I love about courses like this is that no matter what you see Friday and Saturday, you're not guaranteed to see it on Sunday. And that's kind of what I wanted to go through a couple scenarios today, just in terms of, and again, if you're not racing the Texas 7.3, it'll still be a good thing to listen to, I think, and kind of in terms of how you should think about racing. And I'll start with the swim. And I think one of the first things about the Texas 70.3 swim is that, again, it's in open water, it's salt. It's more than likely going to be wetsuit legal. I would say say it's going to be 100% wetsuit legal. It isn't salt, so you're already going to get some buoyancy because you're A, in salt water, and B, in a wetsuit if you choose to wear it. So I would anticipate swimming a little bit faster, even though I think a lot of people have been unfortunately impacted by not being able to swim as much here in the last, few months. So that, I think, will make things interesting and obviously give people a little more anxiety than I think they're used to having, which is already fairly high in open water. The thing about Texas 70.3, which I noticed the time that you and I went, because you were there with me the last time I did this, was that no matter what you see the day before, the next morning could be totally opposite. Because the day before we went, I remember like they had to close down the expo or something because it was so windy. It was like white caps. It was like you had to hold on yourself. Bikes were swinging like on the racks. It was insane when you're thinking, tomorrow's, and it was pretty warm, and tomorrow's going to be brutal. And the next morning, the water was fairly calm. And it was freezing. Okay, it was freezing. I had to borrow arm warmers from Summer to make sure that I didn't freeze my butt off on the bike. And I think I even wore socks for the first time ever because my toes were still freezing. You just never know what you're going to get. And I think that's the important thing to remember when you walk out there Friday or Saturday. You take a look at the water. Don't assume it's going to be like the next day, but you are going to have to get your mind wrapped around, is it going to be choppy? And if it is, the bike course, while I wouldn't call it a technical, the swim course, while I wouldn't call it a technical swim, it does have angles that can make it technical. So when you hop off, which I think gives other people anxiety, you basically jump off a pier, which already gives people kind of anxiety. Like, I might lose my goggles. How do I jump in?
Yeah.
Here's a good rule of thumb: jump in, pull your legs up, kind of like you're gonna do a cannonball, but don't wrap your arms around them. Spread your arms out wide, and basically try to brace yourself against the water, because if you don't, you're going to go straight to the bottom. Okay, so you want to remain as close to the top as you possibly can. Obviously it's not as high of a pier, but we'd always do it at Louisville. You jump off the dock, and it's like, hey, how high can I swim? And if you do it right, your goggles won't even go underwater, which I think a lot of people they get nervous about. My goggles are going to come off, they're going to come loose. And so make sure you do that when you jump in. And then you kind of head out if you're looking at the clock, you kind of head out to like a 2 o'clock angle. And that's where you kind of have to really watch the current in terms of pre-race morning, how the current is moving, because that could be with or against the current, or it could be moving kind of against you. So you really have to pay attention, because if you're going out with the current, what you really want to do is focus on long and strong strokes, because you have the current behind you. If you're not, which hopefully, fingers crossed, when you finally make this, what is a left turn, not a sharp turn, but a fairly sharp turn for the really long straightaway, that I think is probably going to be about 1,500 meters is the straightaway, which is nice. It's all buoys. It's yellow, orange, and then I think a red corner buoy, but it's a long straightaway. What you obviously want is you want the current to be with you on that long stretch. And if it is obviously with you on that long stretch, if you have the current with you, long and strong strokes. If you don't have the current with you and you're going against it, you better have a high turnover, because if you don't, and you're doing the long and strong, the slow motion, the total immersion swim, you're going to be doing 3 strokes forward and 3 strokes back. So it could be a very, very challenging swim. And then you make a final left turn. Again, I think it's going to be a long time since people have been in a situation they have to swim a course like this, and they have to corner the buoys, and they have to make these kind of decisions. So, race morning, even though you can't pre-race in the water, go out, check the water out, visualize how you're going to attack it, not just from where the turns are and what buoys you need to corner and how you're going to corner them, but also the strokes you need to take. Take a look at the current. Again, to recap, if you're swimming with the current, as in the current's behind you, is pushing you kind of like a tailwind on the bike, long and strong strokes. Get all the water you can. Keep your heart rate down. Let the water do its work. Keep calm, because once you hit the current coming against you, whether it's to start or on the long straightaway, you're going to want to go short and sweet with the strokes and really have a higher turnover to make sure you're moving through the water, not letting the water move you back.
Okay. I got it. Well, and the other thing is, since it is the first race for a lot of people in a very, very, very long time, and like you said, there's the pier, and then there's this, it's kind of I don't want to say long walk, but, it's sort of a walk to get out onto the pier, if that's exactly how they're doing. I assume they do it exactly the same. But my thought is like, even Ironman officials and volunteers, it's going to be a long time between races for a lot of those people. And there could be maybe, there'll be a excitement in the air, but there could also be just a little bit more of a level of anxiety. So I would say, get loose before that swim. I mean, we always underestimate that, and get a nice lather going, because like you said, if you have to swim into the current right away, you're going to get, your heart rate's going to go way up. You're going to get into that space that you don't want to be in. So you want to be in a relaxed mode when you hit that water, and just feeling like, I'm just ready to go.
Just ready to go. Get those arms loose as you're walking to. Again, you'll be standing next to your bike. They'll call, they'll wave, who's what wave or what rolling start. It's sub 30 minutes, 30 to 35, 35 to 40. On your way to the start. And again, let me preface this entire podcast. If you're in the 40 to 44 age group, disregard every single thing I'm saying and do the opposite. Do everything the exact opposite of what I'm saying. As you're walking to start, do a lot of arm circles. Go ahead and get as much blood as you possibly can get into your arms. Because like you said, there is no warm-up. It's not going to be an opportunity to do anything really dynamic before you get in. So get those arms really, really loose. Get the blood up there, and then that way you get in. And if you don't be surprised if your arms not hurt, but kind of have like a throbbing sensation the first 200, 300, 400 meters, because all the blood's coming up from your lower extremities and it's all coming up basically and sitting in your arms, because that's where you're doing most of the work. I haven't decided yet, which I think a lot of people are going to see. I'm going to wait till the morning of to decide. I may not wear a wetsuit. If it's going to be hot and it's going to be humid, then the name of the game from the time you rack your bike is going to be stay as cool as you can. Don't lose as much, don't lose any sweat. You don't have to. Don't get your heart rate higher. Save your energy. I think the high is like 76 for the day. I think the real feel is supposed to be like in the 80, but really the thing is like, where is the humidity and dew point going to be? I won't make that decision until race day. I'm a lot more comfortable without wearing a wetsuit. I feel more free, have better feel for the water. I would appreciate the extra time that I would save in a wetsuit, but I already feel like swimming in saltwater, you're already going to get a little bit of save time because it does help you stay a little bit more buoyant. The next and most important thing is if you have a spectator and then with you, this year they probably won't be able to be cheering at you, but make sure your best friend and your co-host in your podcast doesn't shout out a different time for you when you exit the water, because that could really derail your race and your psyche. But no, it'll be fun to get out. You'll have a decent long. That's one thing too with the new protocols and how much distance they're going to try and give people on the racks is that I would immediately anticipate having a longer transition than normal. Just because how long it's going to take to move through things. Transition there is pretty self-explanatory. I think it's fairly long. I think they're all going to be long, honestly, from here on out. But the biggest thing in transition is take your time. It is. I think people lose minutes to try and save seconds in transition. All of them, every single race. I don't mean to have a tea party and sit down and do all you can and kind of get a pina colada out with an umbrella and take it, because a lot of times you can also lose your race by minutes. Like you can lose your race by taking too long, but make sure you got your stuff. And don't think, because you see people all the time, like they'll miss a gel. And this was one of the fascinating things I saw when you saw the professionals race at Challenge Miami, is that anytime a pro dropped something, they went back and got it. They weren't thinking, but that's going to cost me 10 seconds. They went back and got it. No matter what, they went back and got it. Don't try to save seconds in transition to lose minutes or just bleed minutes later on in the race. Make sure you got your stuff. Make sure you got everything on. Make sure you're ready to go. Clip your chin. Get your chin strap ready to roll on your helmet. Get out there, and then for the love of all things holy, when you are ready to get on your bike, this is a huge pet peeve of mine. You know this. Mm-hmm. Don't try to rack it the first centimeter past the line, okay? Everybody tries to do that, and it causes a gigantic traffic jam, because then people stare down at their pedals because it takes them forever to get clipped in, all while moving like a blind caterpillar who just got spun around 3 times, weaving in and out. You see more crashes coming out of T1 than you'll see anywhere else on the entire race course. Run out to the right, to the left to get away from people. Preferably, I always kind of go towards the rail, because at least now I only have to worry about one person running into me, not 2 people. Don't go straight in the middle. Run your bike out through, then hop on, then go. Give yourself some time. Clear the path. Don't clog things up. Not just for you, but for everybody. It's a lot smoother. Gives you more space to kind of get your things rolling. Get out and get ready to have a good bike.
Yeah, no, I like that. I got nothing else on transition. I mean, yeah.
Let me say this too.
Okay.
Don't get your day ruined or even made by your swim time. You see so many people come out of the water and they check their swim time, and they're like, you see this look of like utter disappointment right in their face, that they had this time in their head that they just predicted. Like, I think I'm going to swim this, because I tell you what, I got in a pool and I swam a 1.2 mile swim all out, and I did it in 36 minutes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to swim 36, and I come out of the water and it says 41, right? So many things can happen in open water. The course can be long. Okay. I know there are courses that are long. Their course could be long. You're going to swim against the current. You're going to have trouble navigating it for some other people. It's going to be virtually impossible to swim a perfectly straight line for 1.2 miles. Don't be discouraged. And then also, for the same reason, don't just assume you're going to have a PR day if you come out and you've bested your time by 5 minutes. Okay. Just still work your plan, and then don't do this. I think a lot of people do this, and I think I've done it before in the past, is don't bank or give away time. just because you had a great swim or not a good swim. Don't come out 3 minutes and think, all right, now I got 3 minutes. Now I got 3 minutes I can use in the run. Just roll with it. Same thing goes for if you don't have a good time and you lose 3 minutes. Go, now I got to make up these 3 minutes on the bike. Let the leg go and then move on to the next one. The swim will be what it will be. Once you get out of the water and through transition, move on to the next one and get ready to rock on your bike.
Yeah, swim straight.
Swim, God, more. I mean, you can swim slow and swim straight and still beat fast people, because if you can't swim straight, then you're just going to swim faster and further in the wrong direction than you would if you just swam slower, steady, and straight. 3 S's: slow, steady, straight.
Got it.
The bike course is a tricky one. It is probably the least amount of turns on any bike course that I've ever been on. You just basically come out, you do a left or a couple rights, and then you're on what they call, I guess, the seawall, which is right up against the ocean. And people say you're up against the ocean. I don't remember seeing any of it last time I was there. I think my head was just down, either in the headwind, enjoying the free ride, and on the way back I was trying to hide as much as possible. But same way I felt about Ironman Louisville. They was like, hey, you'll run by the beautiful Churchill Downs. I'm like, I never ever remembered passing Churchill Downs when I ran the Louisville course. But get out there. The biggest thing, and this is what makes flat courses that are in locations like this, tricky, is that you never know what kind of wind you're going to get. You could get a crosswind. More than likely, you're going to get a tailwind on the way out and then a headwind on the way back. I think if one of the way I would choose to race it, I think, is to if you're going on a watt range, like say your watts are 200, I would go out with a little bit less, like maybe 190, 195, save your legs a little bit. It's a better return on investment to save a little bit of your watts with a tailwind than try and smash it. It's kind of the equivalent of smashing your pedals going downhill. You're going to try and go 300 watts to keep your miles per hour up, and you're going to go 0.1 miles an hour faster, where you're going to make up the most time going up the hill or save the most time. Same on the return trip. The biggest thing on the way out, again, if you have a tailwind, and obviously you'll be able to use this kind of, not argument, but approach either direction, no matter if you get a tailwind out or a headwind out, and then vice versa back, is if you have the tailwind, again, go a little bit lower in the power, because then the way back. That's the only bad thing about starting with the tailwind, is that you just know that as fast as you're going and as easy as it feels for the same, not the same amount of time, because it's going to be longer on the return trip, it's going to be longer, it's going to be harder, and you're going to be slower, which is a total mind mess to have to do, is to go blazing fast in the out and think, God, I am crushing. Oh yeah, I got a tailwind. Oh boy. And then return trip, even if you're going to push more power and your heart rate's going to go up and you have to stay more aero, you're going to lose time. You're going to come back slower, and your power is going to be higher. Your RPE is going to be up. Your heart rate is going to be up. It's all going to be up. The biggest piece of advice I give you is, if we do have a tail on the way out, get as much fluid in you as you possibly can on the way out. Grab more than you need from an aid station. Make sure you're fully stocked up before you get to the return trip, before you make your U-turn, because you don't want to have to grab anything from an aid station if you don't have to. You don't want to have to sit up if you don't have to. You want to stay as small as you possibly can for as long as you possibly can. And so again, if you're aiming to average 200 watts for the entirety of your ride, I would recommend going out around 190, saving it, and then maybe going 210 on the return trip. You'll end up around 200, but you'll save it and you'll get the best return on your investment for using those watts on the back trip. That's exactly what I did when I raced this 3 years ago. As I went out around 210, 215, and came back in around 230, and it got me right around 220, which is where I want to end up at. It was a pretty even ride, but I do remember I should have taken in way more calories on the outbound trip, because it was just easy. You got a tailwind, like you can sit up and if you sit up, it's like, oh, I got more wind than your sails. Like, it's really no big deal.
Right.
Get more calories. Don't get swept up in the miles per hour and how fast you're going, because the thing you should be thinking of is, oh, well, if it's so easy right now, it's going to be a little bit harder later. And so I think that's something that you got to kind of have to take into account when you're thinking about, how you're going to pace it, how you're going to get nutrition, how you're going to be able to focus on the way out and make sure that you, do things correctly. And then the other biggest thing is just be really, 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 and just be really aware of the wind. You don't have to worry so much about the wind when it comes through things, when you can predict it. It's about when like if you're going over a bridge, and a breeze comes through, you'll already be ready for it, but you need to watch the riders in front of you. Always watch the riders in front of you, because they're either going to tell you where the potholes are, they're going to tell you where the crappy roads are, they're going to swerve. So it's just like riding in a car. You see a car, you have no idea what's in the street, but you see a car swerve to the left. What do you automatically do? Get ready to swerve to the left. Same thing when you're riding a bike. Watch the riders in front of you. If you see them get blown to the left, lean into the right and prepare for the wind to kind of gust through. Again, it's not going to be as obvious when you're just on the open road, but when you start to get out in between the condos and the houses where it can kind of fly through the little openings in between, that's when you get surprised. When you have none and then it comes, that's when it can hit your front wheel. So just be really, really aware of the people in front of you. Ride to the right, be cautious, and make a good decision on race morning about what front wheel you need to race on.
That's good stuff, man. What is it? Is it 27 out and back straight?
God, it seems something like that, dude. It's not 27 out and back, but I think it's about 22, 23 out back. Mm-hmm. It's a long time.
Okay.
And it's straight arrow. I mean, it is a long, long time. Comfort, arrow, stay small, be small.
Yeah.
And come
That's
back
the
in.
thing too, right?
And be ready to run. So hopefully you have a good position. The T2 there, again, fairly self-explanatory. Biggest thing is, stop your bike before the mountain line. Don't try to get it right up to the tape. That's when you see people come way over their handlebars, not clip out in enough time, and then take your time getting off your bike. That's the other place you see the most wrecks is in T2, is in coming off the bike. Prepare for your legs to be weird. And again, they're going to feel awful no matter what. No matter how brick runs you've ever done. Guess what? Your legs are still going to feel like crap when you get off the bike. They're going to take a little bit to get under you. Take your time in transition and get everything you need. If you need to wear sunscreen, prepare for the day and prepare to feel like the sweat just started to pour, because once you get off that bike in that headwind that just dried you out for the last, hour and 20 minutes, all the sweat that you didn't know was coming is going to come pouring down your face. And now the point of it is to stay as cool as you possibly can for as long as you possibly can. But before we talk about the run, Michael, tell me about your coffee.
Yeah.
You didn't think I'd remember, did you?
No, but when you said T2, I was like, I think you remembered.
I did.
Thank you to Aaron for sending this coffee from Wisconsin called Milwaukee Rockstar. And yes, I drank the whole thing again.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, you were on vacation this time. I was like, well, I'm going to go for it.
Go
Dark roast. South American and dark roasted coffee come together to form this sultry blend, a full, well-rounded body with a light acidity and smoky spice create the perfect coffee for those about to rock.
That sounds good.
Anodyne Coffee. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking for their website. AnodyneCoffee.com. Tell them C26 sent you.
Yeah, or just Mike.
It says the coffee that cures, capable of soothing or eliminating pain. That's really what got me, 2, it's relaxing. And 3, a medicine that relieves pain. Oh, that's what anodyne means. So I don't know. Alleviates dullness, soothes the nerves.
Whatever, it wakes you up with coffee.
Aids digestion, enhances well-being, exhilarates the spirits, and sharpens foresight.
Ooh.
I don't know how they
No wonder you've been on it.
Yeah, man. I've been on fire.
Is that why you're so emotional on Monday?
Could have been, man.
Could have been.
Foresight.
Your foresight.
Sharpened.
And if you have the foresight, you'll pay attention to this run course preview.
Let's talk about the run, man. Can I just say something? This run course, as a spectator,
fantastic.
It's amazing.
Might be the best.
It felt like I was watching a run on a miniature golf course.
It's how it feels running. It feels like that's the thing, is like you look at and again, like that's when you can make the mistakes. Like you look at the course map and you see the elevation and you're like, oh, dude, I'm going to fly. And then you look at how many turns you have to do. And when I say turns, I don't mean like gradual U-turns.
They're cone turns.
They're cones, like you're turning on a dime. That slows you down so much more. It's a frustrating run course in that it's hard to find a groove, because as soon as you get your stride, it's like, oh, I got to slow down and stop and do a hairpin turn again. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to navigate. I've done it. It's 3 loops, which I love, because once you do one loop, you know what to expect, right? So the first loop is really about kind of getting a feel for the course, reminding it that the biggest thing is I think most of the aid stations are going to be self-serve. So you're going to have to kind of do your own thing, grab that, run your corners as best you can, but just be prepared to do a lot of starting and stopping. I think that's going to be part of the, approach you're going to have to take to the race, especially if you're looking to, compete at a certain amount of time, is that you're going to have to really work on or be prepared to do a lot of starting and stopping and maybe accelerate out of the turns more from a get back up to speed standpoint, not anticipating staying at that speed. You're going to come in, say you're coming into a cone running 8-minute miles. You're going to have to slow down in order to take that turn to 8:20s, 8:30s. So you want to come back out of it doing 7:30s, right? If you're trying to run something like that, not stay there, but then work your way back, which just to basically get back up to your normal kind of cruising speed. It's just a really, really hard course to maintain speed, and you will, no matter how fast you run, you will lose time on there's so many turns, it's kind of unreal. How many turns there are. There's not very hills. You kind of go over a bridge at one point, so you go over it 3 times. The biggest thing I think is going to be on this run course is get a feel for it in the first lap, get a feel for the aid stations that you're going to have to kind of handle on your own. But stay cool is going to be the name of the game. Again, even if I know a lot of athletes that do this race live in Texas. It's been hot there for a little bit, but not really that hot for long enough to kind of get really heat acclimated, and it hasn't been hot for most of the country. It snowed places last week. So I think it's going to be kind of a brutal awakening. I think you're going to have to, it's something I've thought about a lot, is how I need to approach the run in terms of just kind of heat management and staying cool, and how the humidity is going to affect me, and coming out of the gate with a responsible effort, knowing that the heat's eventually going to keep up, is going to catch up to you. So you really have to be calm and play the long game. You don't want to go out too slow, but you just have to be really smart, anticipating, knowing that your heart rate's going to keep going up. And then once it kind of gets to a point and you get over hot, it's over, right? There is once you get to a point of being overheated, you can't just cool off with 1 cup of ice and keep running, because your core temp is going to be so high. The only way for you to cool it down is to walk. And that's not what you want to do. You want to be continuous forward motion. That's kind of how I felt at Chattanooga 3 years ago. It was so hot that day. I remember coming out of the gate thinking, I think I'm just going to hold back a little bit and just kind of see what I have. And I think he ended up just kind of holding that hold back pace, because it got so hot that day. I was like, I just need to make sure that I can run this steady pace, because if I try to go harder, it's going to lead to a walk. And I think that's going to be the hardest thing, again, that most people aren't accustomed to and haven't done a long period of time. They haven't raced a long period of time. But you've got 3 loops to practice.
Yeah. That's the thing, always, though, really. I mean, in a nutshell, sort of, it's like, how many people have you, you've talked about this before, but how many people have you said, got done with that run and man, I should have went harder. Yes, I really left a lot out there.
Yeah, really left a lot.
I mean, especially in these kind of early season races. I've done, that time I did New Orleans was an early season, and, you just weren't, like you're saying, you're coming from the north of wherever you're at, and it's going to be 15 to 20 degrees cooler on average or whatever, and you get down there in that sun and it just feels ridiculous. So that's good advice, I think, just to come out under control, make sure kind of get a sense for things. You always talk about take inventory about how you feel and stuff, and this is a perfect example of a great time for it.
And how hot you're going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hot. I'm counting, let's see, with U-turns, just U-turns on one loop is 3. 3 U-turns so you got 9 U-turns over the course of
so lean in with your inside shoulder and touch the palm tree with your shoulder.
So I will say, and you said it, I do, that's what I do love about this course. It is incredibly spectator friendly. You were able to see a lot of people a lot of time, which is good if you're having a good day. It's kind of rough if you're having a bad day, because you're like, yep, it's me again. No, I'm not having a very good day. But all in all, I think it's a great venue. It's a great venue for a race. They do a really good job of putting things on. I know that Ironman is excited to put on. They've been blasting out emails every single day, almost like every minute it seems like, which last week was making me a little bit of gun shy. I was like, every kind of email was like, I kind of cringed, like, is this the one? But now it's basically I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to reinvigorate confidence into their athletes, saying this is where we're doing this. We wouldn't, there's expo, there are vendors, there are people that are going to be there. So they put on a show, and I think they plan on putting on a show for as long as they, for whatever cities they can for the rest of the year. Excited to be a part of it, and excited to kind of be, it's weird. People always say like, do you, as a coach, do you get nervous, racing in terms of like, do you feel like you have to perform better, because you're a coach? Do you feel like it's, something that you need to, does that put pressure on you? Okay, first and foremost, I have both men and women that are significantly faster than me. Okay. That I have basically, unless I start doing, unless I start, blood doping and doing all kinds of weird things and wearing, Vaporfly times 19 shoes, I have no shot of ever catching on these folks. And I'm totally fine with that. Like, that's part of being a coach. Like, you shouldn't be the best person. You shouldn't be the fastest person on your team. You should always be working with people that are faster than you and pushing them to go there. Cause that's how it works. Like, triathlon is like one of the only sports, and I always find it fascinating, is in people think that your speed is it justifies your ability to coach. It's not like in the NBA, they're like, I don't want to be on your team because I'm better than you. It's like that's not how it works with any other major sports. Yeah, they have, but if you look at like all the major sports, all the really good coaches were kind of like mid-level success or not at all. They were like the video guy like 20 years ago. They just kind of learned. Mm-hmm. But this race, I think specifically, I think I'll be energized with just from the team and being able to be a part of this first race back. And obviously the athletes that we have there that'll be chasing around the course, most of them. And just kind of knowing that some of them are kind of be living through us vicariously, because it's been I think everybody's going to be excited because other people are out there participating, because it kind of gives you that first step back into the next time it'll be me and like a real me. Like, I don't have to keep worrying about it. And I think it's a great feeling. I think it's going to be an important weekend for the sport in general, to get things rolling and to start creating some positive momentum. And I feel very, very fortunate, that I'll be able to be a part of it.
Do you think that, with this long training period for a lot of people, top athletes, you think they're going to see some really good times, or you think it's just going to be too unfamiliar territory? They're going to be rusty.
I think you're going to see some athletes absolutely blow the doors off this race. Yeah, I think for not all, but I think you're going to see some unreal pro and age group times that we haven't seen for a while. I think you're going to see, you'll see everything between like you do every racing. It depends on who shows up. I think you're going to see some people in some amazing shape. I think you're going to see some amazing performances. And like people are like getting their underwear in a bunch about there's not a participant list and how am I going to track my competition and how am I going to you got no idea who these people are anyway. And you got no idea what they've been doing for the last 2 years. Okay. So like the people that you thought might be people not to look out for, they're probably the ones you got to look out for, because they might have been
laying in the weeds.
They've been laying in the weeds, baby, which is like the best place to lay. Yeah. And all they've been doing is chomp the bit. The COVID's been good to them. They've worked at home. They've been able to put in a lot of hours, no disruption. And then, Johnny on the spot, who's always crushing the local competition. He's had his whole life upended in the last 2 years. And he's got 5 kids. They're all at home doing virtual learning. His, wife's having to do this and that. And he hasn't been able to train at all. It's going to be it's like everyone gets a fresh start. Everyone is kind of hadn't punched the reset button. I think you're going to see a little bit of it all. I think that's what makes it exciting, is that you got no idea, no matter how much recon you want to do on your competition, or searching the AWA lists, or who won this and who won that, and searching through Strava's, you don't know, because race day is race day. And that's why you race, to see what people have on race day, because training doesn't mean anything. And so get out there, have fun. It's a healthy competition with other people. It's a healthy competition with yourself. But for the most part, just get out there, have fun, enjoy yourself, enjoy the day. And as someone sent me a text yesterday, make sure you smile when you cross the finish line.
Oh,
I don't do that. I'm usually dying. I have a hard time, but I'll tell you what I do plan. I do plan on sitting right back down on that cement slab that I did when I finished the last race there, being totally spent and taking at least 20 minutes to muster up any courage to start walking again. And then hopefully I'll have to ask to borrow a sweatshirt and homeless mittens and a toboggan and sweatpants to watch the rest of the race. Because that's how cold it's going to be, but I doubt it.
Flashbacks, man.
I know, man.
Somebody get a picture of him sitting on that slab so I can do time comparisons side by side.
That's right, baby. 40 looks better. I can tell you right now.
Yeah, bud.
Yeah, my I can tell you right now, my beard is definitely a little bit more trim, so I should be looking at least a little bit better. It was pretty straggly back then. I think I lost at least 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
I did my beard last year.
I've been thinking about that
3 years
a lot.
ago. It's trimmed up.
Ponytail.
Maybe that's the ticket. Yeah.
It's not long
I
enough.
can't be that guy. I'm already that guy enough. We appreciate you. We love you. Again, if you're down there, say hi. I won't have Mike with me, which is everybody's favorites, but the second best is that gets most of you these days. If you have any questions for us, reach out. Mike's at crushingiron@gmail.com. I'm at c26coach@gmail.com. So you can also swing over to our website. It's c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. Also our club membership, which is currently ongoing. Click on that. The coaching tab, scroll down 3. You'll see more info provided there. And you can also hit on our coaches tab. We have a 5 on the roster now which we coach all ranges, all abilities. And I think one of the awesome things about our coaching roster now is that we kind of fit it all. We have people that have been through different things, who are at different places, their own coach development, who have different life experiences, and that's what I think most people look for in coaches anyway, someone that they can relate to, someone that they can find something that's similar to them, and we have a lot of those to offer, a lot of awesome coaches on there, so look on them, and we'll be back next week with an actual race weekend.
It's going to be fun, man. All right, buddy. Well, go get it.
I'll go get it.
Go get it.
Thanks, dude.
See you later.